Hey everybody, this is Menz here. I'm doing a quick review of the M41D. That is a new Tier 8 Chinese premium light tank that is releasing basically to the live server very soon here. The short version, if you don't want to watch a battle here, I'm going to pop into a battle live, see what we get. It's a light tank, so who knows what's going to come to us. The short version is, this is basically a premium version of the M41 Walker Bulldog in the American tank tree. This is just a Chinese premium. It has a better gun as far as DPM, penetration, a little bit of accuracy, shell velocity, stuff like that. And it has 100 more HP. However, it's a little bit slower as far as top speed, reverse speed. It's also a little bit sluggish as far as the power to weight ratio, but very minor. And it also has 10 less V range. That's the gist of this tank. It's more comparable to the M41 Walker Bulldog than it is the, say, WZ132 in the Chinese light tank line. So anyway, popping into a battle here, let's see what we get. Might be great, might be bad. If you're watching my live stream, I'm literally recording this after my live stream that I guess finished. So we're doing this all live, and you're gonna get the real light tank experience here, probably knowing me. And I'm pretty much gonna die. But anyway, is this tank worth picking up? It can crew train. For Chinese lights, it does kind of work with the crew trainer aspect. It's not like some wonky crew. It has 2 crew members and it's worthless. You can actually train crews. Performance-wise, is this better than, say, the tech tree like M41 Walker Bulldog? Yes, I know it's American, but that's the closest comparison. I think this is a little bit better as far as it can actually damage things because it's a little bit more accurate. The shells, they have more penetration. They're APCR for both the standard and the premium round, so you don't have a premium heat round to worry about. And, through and through, you have more DPM, and it's basically better in the firepower department. And also having a little bit more HP. However, it is a little bit more sluggish as far as the lower forward speed and top reverse speed and the power to weight ratio, just to keep that in mind. Now this crew does have some crew skills, and obviously I have equipment on it. Right after this battle, I will do a quick kind of breakdown of this tank compared to, the Walker Bulldog, and also, oops, shot ahead of him. The Walker Bulldog, the WZ132, which thanks for running into me, dude. Come on. This tank is, it's a wheeled tank, but like, come on now. This guy's so lucky right now that I keep missing. Talking about the accuracy, it's not showing up there. But if you like light tanks, honestly, one way to put this, there is the M41 90mm that people really like. That, has a lot of firepower for a light tank, but sacrifices mobility. This is somewhere in between that and the Bulldog, to where this is more mobile than the M4190. However, it doesn't hit as hard for the gun, and more or less it's a little bit more towards the light tank aspect than the medium tank that the M4190 is. Crap, I don't want to get spotted there. We just ran into a bunch of stuff over this way as well. Oh, he might pop back out. I need to help my team over here though, because if we lose like this IS, it's going to be miserable. I don't know why I'm shooting premium APCR. He missed his turn. That's not an exit. Trust me, I know about exits. I'm from New Jersey. Please don't hit me again, Artie. I'm actually not gonna want to be up here if they actually push down this road. Not particularly running away from my team for a reason. I'm seeing if I can spot this guy, and he is firing back on them, so I'm glad I went down this way. Alright. I would say hopefully I'm warmed up because I just live streamed for about 4.5 hours. But we'll see if we can get something here because it's starting to turn a little sour for us. I just got whacked by Artie again. and I'm stunned and I don't have my med kit, I think this is going to turn out a little bad here if I get popped. Come on, crew, come back. Come back to me. Yep, T50-2, thank you very much. I'm running into walls. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this as much as I am. Oh, Lord. I just gotta run here. You know, it still is a light tank to where you have no armor. And, you know, while the DPM's okay here, honestly, you know, medium tanks are still going to be able to pump out more damage. And it has no staying power like other light tanks, unless you're like the LT-432. Would have been nice to have you up there, little buddy, though. That would be awesome. Going through, though, this tank, there's not too much to complain about it. Like, the gun, it's solid, like, it's accurate, it has penetration, has the accuracy. You know, there's not too much to hate about it. Like, it doesn't have the alpha of the M4190 that a lot of people like, but I'm okay with that because it has a little bit more mobility and it's a little bit more towards a actual light tank. Which I should have ran away more because I thought this prototype was going to do me a little bit of a favor here and not run away completely. And I'm dead. Well, anyway, not a great fight, but this is a typical light tank battle. Like, usually with my tank requests, I don't sugarcoat things and pick the best battles, but I was kind of hoping I'd get a little bit better one here for you guys. But anyway, moving on to the review here. I don't want to make this too much of a long video. We'll see how fast I can get through it here. Because, you know, not to say I want to rush through this, because I don't want to. I want this to be a very well-informed video. It's just, you don't have to overthink this, because this basically tank, the M41D, is a premium version of the M41 Walker Bulldog that a lot of people know about already, and it's very easy to compare them. So here in the comparison, let me kind of grab my webcam really fast here and plop it down in the corner. You know, pretty much I picked 4 tanks here. M41D, tank that we're reviewing, the M41 Walker Bulldog, WZ-132 thrown in there because they're the same nation and the same tier, and the M4190. So, like I was talking about, the M41D, damage-wise, same as the Bulldog, less than the WZ-132 and the M41 90mm. Penetration is where this tank kind of shines. You have 192 base penetration, easily the best out of these 4 options, and really good for a tier 8 light tank in general. Your premium shell, also, you have 227mm of penetration. If you compare that to the Walker Bulldog here, who has a heat shell, he only has 210mm of pen on the top gun here. Now, moving on to the WZ-132, that has an APCR shell 225, so it's closer to that. And the 90mm here has a heat shell at 250, so that's pretty nice when you compare it to the M41. You know, 227, a little bit better than the WZ-132, but less than the M41 with the heat shell. But APCR, it's a nice round. I prefer that over heat because heat control you. Rate of fire doesn't matter too much, so getting down to gun traverse speed, you know, nothing really to see there. That's perfectly fine. Gun depression is a little bit less than the M41, just -1 degrees less. It's better than the M4190 and the WZ-132. You know, it can basically fight on hills pretty well, but it will need to stick just a wee bit more than the M41 in the tech tree for the Americans, but it's very, very minor. Honestly, you'll see this through the other stats of it being a little bit worse than the M41. The way I put it, you can see the gun stats here, and I'm not done going over them, but the stats that it's worse than the M41 Bulldog, it just seems like Wargaming went through and knocked off 1 or knocked off 10 off of a couple stats to make it have some negatives compared to the tech tree version. Aiming time, better here, 1.44, best out of these 4 tanks. Dispersion at 0.34 is also the best, and DPM is also the highest at 2,313 for your base DPM, with just 100% crew and no equipment put on it. Hit points, 1100, you know, same with these two, better than the standard M41 though. You know, non-existent armor at all. Don't even need to go over that. Mobility is where things are a little bit different, where you have a slightly weaker engine. So when it comes down to it, your specific power is a little bit less, but honestly, it's not that bad. Like, you are a little bit slower than the M41, but you can still see better power to weight ratio than the WZ132 and also the M4190, which is significantly more sluggish. Top speed, though, you'll notice here, 3 less than the M41 Bulldog. The M41D is, 65 kilometers an hour forward compared to 68, and has 2 less going backwards. So it is noticeably slower going backwards than other light tanks, just by a hair. And the higher, or basically not the higher, the top speed is a little bit lower outside of the WZ132 there, a little bit less than it. Traverse speed is a little bit, low. It is similar to the M4190, where, you're starting to feel a little bit less like a light tank, but it's not that bad. But it is noticeably slower, and also turns a little bit slower compared to the tech tree light tanks. Now, concealment here just barely worse than the Bulldog in the tech tree, and the view range 10 less on the M41D. So all in all, like, what you get here in this tank is pretty much a clone of the American M41, like through and through. Like, you just swapping back the models here, you can kind of see they don't really change that much. So you know what you're getting. If you like the M41 Bulldog, you're gonna like this tank. If you're in my camp, where I think the M41 is weak right now because the gun honestly is not accurate enough and doesn't have enough penetration, you're really gonna like the M41D, because honestly, losing 10 meters view range, losing a little bit of mobility, and also the 1 degrees of gun depression, it's totally worth it to get the better gun. To where, like, is this flat out better than the M41 Bulldog? Not really, but I would say it's more useful because it can actually do damage, and it still can outspot mediums of its tier, albeit not as well as the standard M41 Walker Bulldog. Comparing it directly to the WZ132, I would say, WZ132, obviously, it's going to be the better scout due to the smaller size, and also it's a little bit faster, kind of moving around and whatnot. But going back to the comparison here, you can't compare them directly because, this has higher alpha, this has less alpha, DPM 2, the gap is 300, it's pretty significant, and it's less accurate than WZ132. But I would still say they're not better than one another. They're just a little bit different. And as far as the view range on the WZ132, it's a little bit less than it, but camouflage is a little bit better due to the shorter size. And when it comes to the specific power, basically they are similar, albeit this is lower than the M41. It's just tough to compare the two, that's why I'm mainly comparing it to the American one. But anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this, this very, very short review here. When it comes to my reviews, usually they're a lot longer, but I feel like this is a pretty cut and dry. It's an M41 Walker Bulldog with a better gun, but slightly less mobility and view range. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you do plan on picking this tank up, I think it's a solid buy if you like light tanks. And it's definitely a decent crew trainer for the Chinese light tanks. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Have a very nice night. See you around.